I saw a lot of people that were making not only a lot of money doing tech sales, but they were also able to maintain a very good work-life balance, which is a big priority for me. I started to land a few interviews, but they would all go horrendously. Before I did that, I was only able to land one interview. Obviously, the first advice I would give myself 2 months ago is to.
I'm really excited this week to share my conversation with Ernesto, who just broke into ZoomInfo, one of the best tech sales companies to start your career. In this conversation, it's a deep dive into some of the tactics that Ernesto used in final round interviews to really stand out, but also for those of you that are maybe fresh out of college or you've worked a bunch of different jobs. Ernesto was a referee for intramural sports. He worked at his college gym. He had a few different internships and had no sales experience. So this is a great video that shows you how he packaged all of these different things that to him, when he first started, didn't seem like they fit for tech sales. And ultimately, it actually was a strong advantage for him when he got into these interviews with companies because he had such a diverse background. There's a lot of great nuggets today when it comes to how to even get yourself noticed by recruiters, all the way to how to stand out in final round interviews. Ernesto, congrats on the job. We're really excited for you. Have no doubt you're gonna do great things. And I know everyone watching is going to get a ton out of this video.
Hey everybody, really excited to speak with Ernesto this week, who's actually moving to Washington, D.C. as we speak, just landed at ZoomInfo. We're obviously really excited for you. Maybe as a starting point for everyone watching, give us a bit of an overview of your background and we'll start to break it down from there.
Yeah, so I would say I have a pretty unique background. I recently graduated from university, more specifically Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, with a degree in data analytics and supply chain management, as well as a specialization in real estate finance. A bit about my professional background. I've worked as a production management intern at a large chemical and textile plant in Central America. I've also had the opportunity to work as an operations analyst at Goldman Sachs. And I've had a few odd jobs in university, such as, working on the rec center front desk, as well as working as the intramural referee.
No, it's awesome, man. I'm sure that work ethic really stood out throughout your interview process, and I'm sure we'll get into that further. But maybe for everyone's reference too, right? You have this variety of experiences that really isn't tech, isn't sales related. So what piqued your interest in tech sales specifically, and what did you try before joining higher levels?
Yeah, I would say, what piqued my interest was, I would say the research I did on YouTube. I saw a lot of people that were making not only a lot of money doing tech sales, but they were also able to maintain a very good work-life balance, which, is a big priority for me. I know in, for example, previous roles that I've worked before, you would have to show up at the office extremely early, leave extremely late. And, it just felt like it took a physical toll on me. So I was kind of looking for a career where not only could I develop very important skills for application and other things in my life, but also a career where I could, make a lot of money while at the same time having a very good work-life balance. So, I kind of started looking around at YouTube channels, a lot of people who kind of gave their stories on how they got into tech sales. I watched interviews. And so I started to prep for my interviews. I watched your guys' video on, the one where you guys gave like a whole bunch of questions and the best ways to answer it. And, I started to land a few interviews, but they would all go horrendously. So I thought like there's something that I should be able to do to make this process a lot easier for me. And so that's when I decided to, start looking for courses to help me further my skills. And, that's where I came across your course and I decided to enroll there.
Nice, man. I love it. Well, obviously super happy that you did. And you didn't just break into tech sales, you broke into one of the best companies in the world in tech sales too. So kudos to you. You absolutely crushed it. I guess diving a little bit deeper into why you picked higher levels, like when you were looking at all these different courses, what was it about higher levels that made you say, hey, this feels a little bit more like what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and push or pull the trigger on this?
Yeah, I would say, what made me enroll in higher levels is the fact that, at the end, I was kind of in between higher levels and course careers. And so, I kind of looked at the pros and cons for each one. Course careers, from what I've heard in the reviews, they give a lot of very good basic information. But then I started thinking to myself, I mean, probably most of the people who are applying to these tech sales roles, which are hyper competitive, I mean, it's really hard to land one of these jobs. Most of them probably chose the course careers like course just because so many people have taken it. And so I kind of wanted to take something that kind of made me stand apart from other candidates. And during my interview process, because I was able to interview at a few companies, a lot of people during the interview process, they would ask me like, oh, what's higher levels, what kind of things do they teach here? And I think that's something that helped set me apart from other candidates in the process. And the fact that they gave me such a unique not only perspective but education compared to other courses, I think that's a big reason why I ended up getting the job at ZoomInfo.
Nice. I love it, man. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we had a pre-existing relationship to other courses as well, and we felt like a lot of the knowledge that was being presented to people it was basic, right? Like it was fundamental, and it's not bad knowledge by any means, but we felt like it wasn't really preparing people for what is actually going to get them the job, which is going through the rounds, actually like progressing, doing all the little things that, sure, you can know what an SDR is, you can know, all the little things about like an MQL and like SLA and all the technical jargon of like what you're going to be doing in a role, but that's not necessarily going to help you get the job itself, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, because I'm sorry.
No, go on.
No, yeah, it's because, for example, a lot of these courses, they don't talk about things like resume optimization, which is, something that really helped me out. A lot of these courses don't talk about the mentality of being an SDR because, it's a question that gets asked every interview. It's like, how do you deal with rejection? What's the mentality to have as an SDR? What are the values you should have as an SDR? And I feel that higher levels not only focuses on the technical aspect of sales, which is, for example, like how you talk, how you present yourself, but also kind of the mental aspect. And at the end of the day, I think that's what companies are looking for, when they're doing interviews, because skills can be refined. These companies, like, they can teach you how to be a better cold caller, how to be a better prospector, but the one thing that can't be taught is mentality. So I think that's something that really helped higher levels, kind of set itself apart for me during, the process where I was choosing where I would enroll.
Nice. Oh yeah. Spoken like a true champ. I love the attitude. I feel like I
Mhm.
always call it personal development in disguise because that's ultimately what it is. You realize like it's all the little things that you don't think about. Like you think, oh, I'm gonna, optimize every single little thing and like write the most perfect message ever. But it's these little things that you figure out as you go through the process with other companies that ultimately will help you get the job in the end.
Yeah.
So I love that. I guess now that you've been through the program itself, obviously appreciate all the kind words. Was there a specific section of the course that was more helpful than the others, or something that was like particularly useful where it was like, oh, this changed the game for me? This was when I started getting more interviews. This was when I started progressing more. I don't know, anything you can think of there.
Yeah. For me, the part that was really a game changer was the resume optimization. Once I optimized my resume, I started landing, because before I did that, I was only able to land one interview, and it was at CrowdStrike as an SDR. And I mean, honestly, I think that the only reason I got that interview was because it was for a Spanish speaking role. And there's not a lot of people who can speak both English and Spanish who are trying to get into cybersecurity sales. And so, I would keep getting rejected by all of these companies until what really changed for me, as I said before, was the resume optimization. It kind of helped me get my foot in the door, because, once the interviewers got to be able to know me, got to able to hear how I answered questions, that's something that, ultimately helped me land this job. In some interviews, it helped me move to the third or fourth rounds. And I would say that was the most helpful part for me, because it actually gave me the opportunity to present all of the skills that I learned.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And I love the resilience. I know, it's something we're very transparent about. Honestly, in many cases, it's better to get out there and fail early and often and take a few L's because you learn so quickly alongside the education that we're providing. So credit to you for having the fortitude to take those failures. Maybe for someone on the outside looking in too, you mentioned even before joining higher levels, you had met some resistance. You got to maybe second round, third round, and didn't progress further. Maybe through, joining higher levels and everything you learned along the way, someone outside looking in, what should they know about getting rejected and maybe some of the changes you made that ultimately let you get to those final round interviews and also getting offers?
Yeah, I would say definitely a big part of getting a job in tech sales is kind of adapting and trying new things out with every interview, seeing what sticks, because it's a hyper competitive field. I mean, during the entire time where I was applying to jobs, I don't think I ever saw a role where there were less than 99 applicants. And you would see things that were posted like 2 days ago, 1 day ago on LinkedIn, and they would say 99 plus applicants. I had LinkedIn Premium at the time, and you would see there were like 200, 300 candidates. So I would say kind of it's important to take the rejection firstly, because obviously, the vast majority of roles aren't going to be a good fit. Maybe sometimes there's candidates with better experience. Maybe you're not exactly what the company's looking for. Especially as someone with no experience, such as myself, it's even harder. For example, a few of the things I changed was, for example, with common key questions that I would be asked every interview, such as, for example, why are you looking to get into tech sales? During my first interviews, I would maybe get a little too personal with it, say like, oh, I want to get into tech sales because, I want to start a business one day and I want to learn how to sell. I would focus, for example, I started to focus my answer more on like, oh, I wanted to get into tech sales because I think that sales is a fundamental skill that everybody should learn. Try to be maybe a little less personal with my answers. For example, that's something big that I learned. I would say the biggest change, like before and after I took the course, was definitely during the mock cold calls. Before I did the course, I would kind of do my cold calls, kind of like how you see on TV with like car salesmen, where they would come in with like way too much energy, like trying to push you and push you and push you, because I thought, that's the way that sales is conducted. But after taking the course, something that really helped me stand out from other candidates during my whole process was the fact that I was one of the few people who actually asked questions. So, for example, during my interview with ZoomInfo, um, the interviewer asked me, "What's a hobby that you do that I should do?" and pitch it to me. And I was like, "Okay, how about weightlifting?" And she was like, "Okay, then pitch it to me." And the first thing I did is I asked her like, "Hey, what kind of exercise? Like, tell me about yourself. What kind of exercise do you like to do?" Oh, I'm not really a big exercise person, and so I told her like, oh, if you don't like exercise, like, are you interested in maybe trying something that, kind of maximizes your health while at the same time, like minimizing the amount of time you spend exercising? Oh yeah, that's something I'm interested. Yet, just things like that. It really helps set you apart from other candidates. And because you're someone such as myself that's entering into this field with no experience, every little thing that helps you stand out, it all adds up in the end, and it really helps you land these really hard to land jobs.
Yeah, it's awesome. A great example too of things that I think people on the outside looking in, like I was even thinking about my answer in the moment and I didn't even think to answer questions because I haven't interviewed in a while. So I think, but again, it's like, if you go through those interviews where maybe the first time you were asked that question, you just spewed a bunch of stuff and realized it may or may not have been relevant. Taking those early losses prepared you to be absolutely ready for the great opportunity with ZoomInfo. And maybe just for everyone's reference too, from the time you joined higher levels to breaking into ZoomInfo, what was the overall timeline?
So the overall timeline for me was about a month and a half, 2 months, because I started the course maybe around mid-May, and I was able to land this role at the beginning of this month. So yeah, about 2 months, 2.5 months. I mean, it wasn't too long, but yeah.
Nice. Yeah, crushed it. That's awesome, man. I know that you were super diligent too, so hats off to you. I think you're very, very well earned in that regard. I guess maybe closing out, like if you're kind of looking back at your journey now, And if you could give yourself, like your younger self, some advice before you started this entire process, or even for people out there who are considering tech sales as a career, you know, maybe coming out of college, going back and forth between investment banking like yourself or tech sales, or maybe even people that are considering a boot camp like Tech Sales Ascension, like anything you want to leave those folks with?
I would say, you know, something that really helped me a lot was always be the first person to apply. I mean, what I did is I would wake up really, really early, and I would have a bunch of applications like already completed from the night before. And then I would send them like first thing in the morning, just because when a recruiter opens up their computer, my resume is the first one on their list. I would say that's something that helped me the most. I would say something else that helped me a lot was optimizing your resume. Like you should change your resume for each job that you're applying, because each company has different requirements and they're looking for different things in their candidates. I would say another big thing is use ChatGPT. You know, it really streamlines a lot of the, you know, unnecessary work, such as like writing cover letters or maybe editing a few things to maybe fit the persona, you know, of a company better, maybe helping you do research on a company. And yeah, I would say that's my advice for anyone trying to get into tech sales. Personally, not from the course, because, you know, obviously the first advice I would give myself 2 months ago is to finish the course faster, you know.
Nice, man. I love it. Well, Ernesto, really appreciate the time, man. And huge congrats again. I mean, Zoom Info is no small accomplishment. So huge congrats to you. And I'm just super excited to see like where your tech sales career will flourish over to. I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to crush it. Like a year from now, you're going to go on to be a top performer and who knows what else. So just for everybody else's reference, we're going to put Ernesto's LinkedIn underneath this video here. Ernesto, if you have time in between all the onboarding to maybe answer a couple of questions from folks out there who are, you know, looking to break into tech sales as well, you know, definitely feel free to tap him, because obviously he's got a lot of good knowledge in here. But Ernesto, appreciate the time, man. And huge congrats again. Eric, I don't know if you have any famous last words, but this was a killer one. So
Yeah. Congrats, man. And yeah, I'd say to everyone out there, just don't flood Ernesto's inbox at 6 a.m. like he just told you to do. Otherwise, he won't respond. You got to hit him up during business hours. So hopefully protecting you there, man. But congrats.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate, you know, everything.